It's truly a blessing to help people with the most precious sense known to mankind, which is sight. As optometrists, we have a branding issue. We need more optometrists. But how do the students out there, our colleagues out there, our future colleagues, I should say, understand how great this profession is? It's our job, our duty to be ambassadors for our profession. And on today's podcast, we have a rock star OD that has taken it to the next level when it comes to creating more awareness about how amazing this profession is. On today's podcast, we're going to break down an amazing program that has helped to elevate our profession, but most importantly, secure the profession down the road. Friends and family, welcome to Defocus Media, Optometry's #1 podcast network. Today, we're going live with the one and only Dr. Connor Robs. Let's go. This is a Defocus Media production. What's up, everyone? It's your favorite optometrist, Dr. Darryl Glover.
And I'm Dr. Jennifer Lyerly, resident optometry nerd.
And welcome to Defocus Media, Optometry's #1 podcast, where we discuss the hottest topics, latest technology, eyewear, practice management, and more. So sit back, relax, and defocus. What's up, everyone? It's your favorite optometrist, Dr. Darryl Glover. Super excited to be here today because we have a rock star OD that has really helped to elevate our profession. You know, there's a lot of folks in the eye care industry that do a lot of things behind closed doors to push this profession forward. There's a lot of optometrists out there that understand the importance of making sure that this profession is here, not just 2 years from now, 5 years from now, but 100 years from now. And one of those ODs is my friend, my colleague, Dr. Connor Robs. How are you doing today, sir?
Dr. Glover, thank you so much for having me on today. I'm doing well. How are you?
Man, I'm doing fantastic. And I'm super excited because we're going to have a real conversation that all our colleagues need to hear about because I think it's our job and our responsibility to keep this profession alive. I get that we're a legislative profession and that we have to expand our scope and protect our rights, but none of that means anything at all if we don't have enough ODs out there to actually see these patients, right? So I think sometimes we got to take a step backwards, right, and focus on building the pipeline. And on today's podcast, I really want to dive deep into some of the amazing things that you have done to elevate this profession, to create more awareness and be a true brand ambassador. Now, before we get too far into this, Connor, we got to learn a little bit about who you are and your background. So if you don't mind, maybe sharing how you got inspired to become an optometrist and how you got into this amazing profession, my friend.
That's right. So, as I'm sitting in my exam room today, I'm in my mom's private practice that I started in when I was 10 years old, right? So that's how I got into all this. At 10 years old, I was, in the back learning about prior authorizations, billing, not really understanding why I was here and not playing with my friends outside, playing street hockey. And now I understand why she had me in here at a young age, right? Learning the billing, the optical, working as a technician at my mom's private practice for years as a teenager into college. That was how I got driven into the profession, right? Being able to learn how to communicate with patients that no textbook or Chromebook nowadays is going to tell you about, right? That's the big thing. And I felt like that was pretty eye-opening for a lot of my optometry classmates that they had to talk to people all day, right? So that was a skill that I was very grateful to learn at a young age. I got really serious about it, maybe 16 to 18 years old. I was probably 6 to 8 years in at that point working. And my mom said, this is a really, really great profession business-wise. Creating relationships with people. This is something that I really think you should consider. So I did. Afterwards, I went to University of Illinois in Champaign-Urbana. I was a bio and chem major there. And I knew right away I wanted to get right to optometry school after. At U of I also played on the men's club ice hockey team, and our advisor was had a research lab, a kinesiology lab, and he said, Connor, you should really consider doing this if you're applying to any professional school. I said, I don't know, I just want to get my grades. I don't know if I have time for this. He goes, no. Listen, we're not looking under microscopes all day at cells. This is about like fitness and nutrition. I think you'd like it. I said, no problem. So here we are today. they were actually doing eye research with OCTs, right? And they had nobody with any eye experience. It was all neurobiology, neuroscience majors. So that's how I got into the field of research as well, starting with the U of I. And then after that, once I graduated, I went to Illinois College of Optometry, which I proudly graduated about 2.5 years ago in 2022. I was a head RA there. Like I said, I performed a lot of mental health research with Dr. Yi Pang there, and in addition, was a part of the accelerated clinical program. So I couldn't be prouder to have graduated from ICO, and here we are sitting in Napier Grove Vision Care, the private practice that I currently work at.
I love it, man. And the thing that I want to do before we even go any further is give a shout out to your mama. Shout out to
Right.
mom for doing a fantastic job of, creating that vision, but giving you exposure at an early age, right? Sometimes I look back at some of the things that, my father did in my youth in regards to, giving me exposure to certain, opportunities. And, some of those opportunities caused me not to be able to go outside and do certain things. And at that time, for me, it was playing basketball, ripping and running the streets and having a good time, right? But now that I look back at it, I'm like, man, I'm super thankful for, just that solid foundation that my parents created for me. And I see that clearly with you, and I see the vision, the path that you have. And I want to also give a shout out to your professors at your school, because it seems like you've had a lot of impactful people around you that have created some strong moments that have created the platform that you have right now. Today, I really want to dive deep into, why is it important for us to really create a strong foundation, a branding foundation for optometry. I mean, I mentioned earlier, I think that, there's a dire need because number one, there's a lack of optometrists, but I kind of want to get the inspiration behind this amazing program that you've created known as Future Optometric Doctors Program. So if you don't mind, maybe giving some inspiration behind that, but then also jumping into what that program is truly all about.
Absolutely. So, and it goes back to what I did in the past, right? I was in here young, right? And I want to give that opportunity to other students that may have never understood what optometry is, right? Um, in terms of advocacy for what we do for the profession, right? I can't tell you the amount of patients that don't know that their own blood vessels are in the back of the eyes that we're looking at with diabetes, blood pressure, cholesterol, right? That's what we do on a daily basis. So the big why behind why I'm doing this is, it's no secret that the national applicant numbers are kind of starting to plateau or decline even over the past 10 to 15 years. That's a big, big deal.
Yeah.
And nothing's a problem until it's a problem. And you'll hear me say that quite a bit because that's how I feel at this point. Nothing's a problem until it is a problem, right? You keep the boat afloat, and I'm not like that. I want to be proactive, and I want to make sure for generations, hopefully 100 years down the road, like you said, that we have enough optometrists. So the reason behind this is, like I said, the national applicants are plateauing, but also the quality of the applicants coming out is not as high as what it was years ago. And what I mean by that is no matter what school you go to, it takes 5, maybe 6 years for some of them to graduate, right? I don't believe that many of these students were prepared coming into optometry school or really knew what it was about. And so my whole basis with this program is to inspire high school students, specifically high school, a younger age group than the usual undergraduate level that we try to recruit, high school students to join optometry and create this large scale recruiting effort that I call the Future Optometric Doctors Program. Now, there's a key word in that as well, right? Doctor. At the time that I was making this, I was a fourth year student studying for part 2 of board. So if that tells you any inclination and any drive that I wanted to do this, you better believe I wanted to do this, right? At that time, there was a state that you and I both know that was trying to not call us doctors, right? And that bill
Absolutely.
got shut down.
Yeah.
And so there is a huge need for doctors of optometry. And I want to make sure that these students know that we are real doctors. We can do and prescribe different antibiotics, medications, steroids to treat many ocular conditions. So that's really the why behind it, is the need for optometrists. And truthfully, what the Future Optometric Doctors Program that I perform at the Illinois College of Optometry is I recruit high schools to come out to the College of Optometry, and I call it a three-tier program. The first tier is we take retinal images of the back of their eyes that they're able to go home with, right? They need to
Nice.
understand that they can see their real blood vessels, their optic nerve, a part of their brain, and they can understand that we are not just contacts and glasses. They're able to take home their retinal photos that day, which is really powerful. Number two, and about 75% of it, is shadowing in our disease heavy clinics, right? I can go to any high school across Chicagoland and discuss what optometry does, the medical side of things, but they need to be in the profession. They need to be seeing patients. So the vast majority of my program is spent at disease heavy clinics with the students shadowing with our students at ICO, which is really powerful. And the
Love it.
last tier is a discussion, right? What did you guys see? What systemic diseases affected the eyes? You know, I knew that I had something special after my first program because I had this full PowerPoint, every condition, right? Cranial nerve palsies to show them all kinds of stuff. And they came back and they're eating lunch, and one student asked one question. I answered it, showed them what macular degeneration was that they saw. And that rattled off 45 minutes of questions from 15 and 16-year-olds nonstop. I didn't
Wow.
even get to the presentation. And the teacher and the principal, the very first school, mind you, was like, they haven't asked questions in 2 to 3 months, let alone for 45 minutes with you.
Wow.
And they're like, whatever you're doing, this is great. We'd love to come back next year. I'm like, okay, one data point. I'm not going to get ahead of myself, right? Let's start inviting more and more, right? So I started to gain more relationships with different schools, and it's it's all repeatable. Every single time these students come in, there have been more and more students asking more questions, wanting internships. So it really has exploded. The big thing that we wanted to mirror as well was what we've done at our private practice. We've had 7 students in the past 5 years graduate through ICO because they worked as teenagers, right? They were involved in the profession earlier.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of the inspiration behind it, and truthfully what it is. And we can get into the data
Yeah.
in just a moment when you're ready. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, this is phenomenal work. And I've been able to witness and watch this online. I may not be in Chicago, but the one thing that I've noticed is that you're consistent. I see consistent imaging, consistent dialogue with these students coming in and making this magic happen. The other thing that I see outside of that consistency is the diversity of the students that
Yes.
come and do this. And I'm curious, was that intentional, or was that just something that just sporadically or just randomly happened? Because I think that is something that we need more in eye care. We need more diversity, right? Because historically, a lot of the schools have tapped into the same schools that may not be as diverse. And I feel like if we want another route to bring in more talent, we got to look in different ways and think outside of the box. So I'm curious to know how that manifested in regards to the program.
It's funny you say that, right? Yeah. When you are inclusive to anybody and everyone across Chicagoland, you'd be surprised as to who wants to come in and be interested in the medical field, right? So it was not intentional at first, but I knew it would work out that way in the end. And so the big thing was I have relationships first and foremost with Chicago Public Schools. It's one of the biggest school systems in the entire country. I think it's second behind LA. They have
Wow.
so many students to send us. It's not even funny. That is my biggest partner, first and foremost. I also have public schools in the suburbs. I have private schools that I've gained relationships with. And you know what? The whole point with this program is I wanted to give people the opportunity that they may have never gotten before, right? So I have kids from private schools that have been handed everything and they're going to be very successful. There's no faulting them for that. You know, they had a great upbringing. And I'm not saying that I didn't either. I had a great upbringing and I want to give that to other people, right? But in addition, I have schools, one of them, namely Little Village High School. I want to highlight them really quick with Chicago Public Schools. Um, Kind of lethargic coming in, a little bit tired. And the teacher's a chiropractor. She said, you know, Connor, sorry that, it's just been kind of a tough week. I said, no problem. I'm happy that they're here. And she
Yeah.
said, you don't get it. These kids work jobs before they came here and then
Mm,
after school to pay rent for their mom and dad.
mm.
And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. She said, no, you see those three kids right there? They've been up since 3:30 in the morning working, and then they came on this field trip after. And so the whole point is I'm inclusive to every group, any student, any high school that wants to come in. If you want to see optometry, if you want to see patients, you absolutely have a seat at the table with us. Please come in, shadow, learn about optometry. So I've got every background that you can imagine, and it was unintentional, and I think that's the whole point of it. You don't have to make it very intentional. Things will just happen, and if you have a good service to give these students.
Yeah, I love it. And just please continue this work. But I want to get into the data. I want you to kind of walk us through that because numbers don't lie, right? And data can help drive this profession to the next level. So I'd love for you to kind of walk through the program and the data that you found over time, because I think this is a good platform to create these talking points, because there's companies out there that are looking to invest more into optometry and push this profession forward. And I hope they're listening to this and they will help support you, because I know, that you can't just do this without any money, right?
Right.
Without any time. And there's opportunity to maybe expand this throughout the entire nation. So I love for you to kind of walk through the data of some things that you have found. That way we can help to elevate and push this program forward.
Absolutely. So, we just started our third year. So the data through about 2.5 years or so consist of over 500 kids that have come to the Illinois College of Optometry. But
Wow.
the number is one thing. What I have found is all these schools have done the filtering for us. They don't send just a bunch of kids that want to do a field trip. These are already medically inclined kids that want to get into the medical field. So all these schools, they're not clubs, they're curricular classes now within the school. And so they send their anatomy or their medical career class to visit the Illinois College of Optometry, right? So we've had over 500 kids come out, close to 40 programs and counting, which has been great. I know you've been following on LinkedIn with all the pictures, so it's quite a few. But let's get into the data right afterwards. The big takeaways. I give them a self-reported survey on the spot, quick, easy, that they fill out. 75 to 80% of the kids want either an internship in optometry afterwards and or another shadowing opportunity in optometry afterwards. Numbers do not lie. And the first time I ran those regressions, I looked at it and I'm like, come on, this can't be right. Maybe 50%, right? Maybe a coin flip, maybe 50%. No, 75 to 80% want shadowing or employment opportunities in the field afterwards. So do the math on 500 kids. That is a huge opportunity, right?
Yeah.
Um, the kids that are very much so serious, I know students from St. Lawrence High School that I just visited 2 nights ago that I spoke to actually. They have two students at Augustana that are pre-optometry that visited the Illinois College of Optometry through my program, right? So there is real students in the pipeline. This is real, this is really working after 2 years here, right? So the big thing and the big pillar that I would like to knock down in the future, I can't stop here. I need that internship, right? This is real, Darryl. I need a practice that can take on some of these students in the summertime, right? That are able to give them these job opportunities. I want to create employment opportunities. I can remember the past couple of schools that came out. one one asked and said, "Can I work in pediatrics this summer?" And it it pains me and it fires me up at the same time, that I'm like, I know that some practice across the country, hopefully a bigger corporate practice, will take these students on, because every single time I have students that come up to me wanting job opportunities after.
Yeah.
And right now I don't unfortunately have anywhere to send them, but that is the next pillar and it will be broken down very soon. I know it. We just need to continue to get the word out and to get these 500 plus kids, into job opportunities. And the last data point was, so when you do the math, we'll do 12-ish programs a year or so. In all seriousness, I have the relationships with Chicago public schools, these private schools, and my realistic capability to do probably 30 programs a year.
Okay.
But everything does come down to funding, like you said, Darryl, right? And so we got to keep chipping away. And hey, if they ask me to do 10 to 12 schools a year, I am more than happy and more than grateful for the opportunity, because I know one, two, maybe three students will come into the field after. So some pretty powerful data, no doubt.
Oh yeah. I mean, very powerful. I mean, it touched me. It actually gave me chills, man. Just hearing that, 70 to 80% number, right? 500 students. You're being intentional. Healthcare, anatomy, science-based courses. These are the things that we have to do in our profession. We have to be intentional and invest earlier in the pipeline. You see, we get hung up in, college, but it's really high school and then taking that step back to even middle school. These students need exposure earlier. And what you have done with being able to implement, being able to see the pictures of their retinas and the blood vessels and talking about disease, but that immersion piece of actually having the students in a clinic and seeing what it looks like, to me, is just a game changer, right? And then having a discussion afterwards and having a Q&A, you're really hitting it on all levels, all aspects, to have these students understand that this is real. I want to be a part of it, and I want to know what I need to do next. So this is a true call out to all the eye care employers out there, all the private practices out there, all the vendors out there, all the suppliers out there. What are you doing to help push this profession forward? This is another aspect, another piece that we have to invest in, is the pipeline. Because when we can do this, the suppliers will get more prescribers, the employers will get more doctors, and most importantly, we'll be able to help the growing, aging population that's out there. So we have to do better. Now, in regards to this program, I know we need the funding. I know we need some jobs, some internships, externships for these students. What else is needed for this program, and what does the future look like in your eyes, Connor?
Yeah. So the future, I would say, just to reiterate, is to simply, if you have a patient in your chair and they say, my kid's interested in medicine, they potentially might want to shadow you, or they're just interested in optometry. I want to be able to say, no problem. Here's our program at one of the colleges, and
Yeah.
then get them to a practice that is closely located to their demographic, right? It's one of those things that transportation is a big issue for a lot of these students, and I'm trying to find a practice that can take a lot of these students on, no matter where they are located, right? If in 3 to 5 year outlook we can break that barrier down and then expand the internship program, I would be very, very grateful. But you and I both know, after talking for 25 minutes, I'm not going to stop there. If this could potentially go across the country at some point, right? I think that'd be a pretty fulfilling career to have this everywhere, right? And to know that we have a unified formal program that if anybody wanted to get into the field of optometry, we not only have a shadowing experience at the college to get them involved with the academic side, but then an internship to really get them engaged and to really show them what practice is all about as an optometrist.
I love it, man. And, as long as you speak it into existence, it will manifest and it will happen. And we have a lot of listeners on this podcast, and you and I both have a large platform. And I think everyone that's in eye care really loves eye care because it's done them well. It's helped them personally, it's helped them professionally. And I encourage all my colleagues to step their game up and figure out what piece can you add to this program, right? It doesn't necessarily mean you have to bring that student into your practice, but do you have a connection of someone that may be in an area of school? Do you have a connection that can help take this program and scale it across all states, all schools? What can you do to elevate this program? That's what we're asking, and that's what we need. And Connor, I just want to take my hat off and thank you on behalf of the entire optometry, because it's doctors like you that's going to help to push this profession forward and save this profession, because, again, we desperately need more optometrists. Now, Connor, I always like to ask all my colleagues before they end the show, what do they want to be known for when it's their turn to retire their phoropter? What legacy do they want to leave behind? I know you're super early in your career, but man, you've done the damn thing. You've changed the game already, baby. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
but
yeah.
What do you want to be known for when it's your turn to retire your phoropter, my friend?
Especially with this program, I want this to be known as the largest recruiting initiative that optometry's ever seen. There's no doubt about it. And not that I want the credit for that. I just want my legacy to be known to that I knew that I helped thousands and thousands of kids to get into this great profession that they may have never known of, right? And in addition, to be an advocate for the profession on the state and the federal side as a result of this program.
I love it. I love it. Well, I want to thank you so much again for coming on the podcast, for sharing your story, for touching all these lives that are out there. For anyone that wants to connect with you and help and grow this program, what's the best contact information for them to connect with you, Connor?
Yeah, I would say connect with me on LinkedIn. That's the easiest app or platform to connect with me. Other social media as well, but I would say LinkedIn if you'd like to message and reach out, even just to ask about more information about the program. I'm always happy to share.
Awesome. I love it. Well, thank you so much, man, for hanging out with me today. This has been fantastic. It's your favorite optometrist, Dr. Darryl Glover. To all my colleagues out there, stay healthy, stay positive, stay blessed, but most importantly, let's push this profession together. Let's push it forward together. There are a lot of patients out there that need us, and it's up to us to make that change. Have a great one. Hey, family, if you enjoyed this full podcast, don't miss out on more engaging content. Check out the next episode right here. And for the latest updates, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. Your support means the world to us. Catch us in the next episode. Peace.